And then I'm going to face the side for a second. I'm going to sit on my shins, but you don't have to. So you sit any way you like. And then some of you were here with me on Saturday, and we worked on this action of kind of drawing back through the lower ribs. And I'll have us do a little bit of that in our class today. So just take one hand to your back, and the hand is roughly at the lower ribs. So it's lower down than the shoulder blades, but it's higher up than the lumbar curve. Yeah? And then keep your hand there and let the rest of your body relax. Close the eyes if that feels okay. And see if you can send your breath into your back where your hand is. And then just think of the back very gently pressing more into the hand. And go ahead and now press a little bit more, like do it too much, and see how when you press more, you end up rounding the whole spine. And as a result, the shoulders come forward, the pelvis tucks under. So bring yourself back to center. And let's change arms, just because that arm will probably want to break. And now go the other direction. So press the hand a little more into the back and let the ribs, the back ribs and the front ribs both start to come forward. So now you've got a little more arch. Yeah, so that's also where we don't want to be. See if you can once again press the back ribs into your hand a little bit, but not excessively. Yeah. And then let's release the hands. If the eyes came open, relax the eyes again. You can take hands to heart center. Either join me for an Om or just listen. Take a sweet breath in. And very gently let the head bow down. If the eyes are closed, let them open. Interlace your fingers. And at first, press the arms forward and the back will round when you do that. It's kind of cat pose. And let's take the arms up overhead and notice just automatically, naturally, the back ribs will come forward. See if you can maintain the lift, maintain the leg, but gradually fill out again through the back ribs just a little bit. If you go too much, you'll end up rounding, just a little bit. And then once again, find the leg. Yeah, so kind of go back and forth between those two. And then to get out of this, just separate the hands and give the wrists a few circles as you bring the arms down. Yeah, and then take the fingers on the front of the shoulders and let's take the arms in a few circles, just like that. Yeah. All right, so we'll let the arms go and we'll untangle the legs. Stretch the legs out long in front of you and create a little bit of movement in your feet and the ankles, the toes, just anything that feels interesting. And then we will reset in all fours positions. Come on into your hands and knees. Join me here. And give yourself a moment just to move a little bit in any way that feels right. And that might be really ooey gooey slow. It might be a quicker movement. It might be a yoga pose or it might not be. And then you can join me just resetting into your neutral position. We'll take a few rounds of cat-cow, but I'm going to have you do it thinking about the back ribs. So just from your neutral position, breathe in. And as you exhale, fill out through the back ribs, but don't go so much, just a little bit. So it's cat pose, but it's not a really, really large one. And then on the inhale, same thing when we go to cow, just let the effort go, but don't go into this kind of hammock back position, just a little bit. The exhales, the back ribs fill out and you find that little lift. And on the inhales, you'll let it go. That just a few more rounds. And then we'll take a brief child's pose. Send the hips back, send the arms forward, and perch up onto your fingertips for a second. Give the mat a little scrunch, squeeze action. We'll reset, coming back to the all fours position. And let's stretch the right leg back with the toes tucked under. Give yourself a little bit of motion forward and back, a little bit of a calf stretch. And then we'll pause here with the leg in place. Can you broaden the collarbones? And at the same time, fill out through the back ribs. Try not to let that change as the right leg lifts up off the floor and then set it down. Notice when you lift the leg, the back ribs want to droop again. See if you can keep them lifted. And if you want extra, you can stretch the left arm forward and just alter, so that it's left arm, right leg, up and down, keeping the back ribs in place. Yeah, so we'll pause in the up position. And you bend the knee, bend the elbow. Take the knee to the right, the elbow to the left. Notice what happened to the back ribs and see if you can keep the lift. And then we'll put the hand down if it's up. Keep the knee out to the side and just pick a direction. We'll make some circles with the right leg. Can you do that without letting the back ribs droop down? Yeah. Great. And then from here, let's pause. Knee is bent. Lower the knee down to the floor and keep the right heel kind of squeezing in. So the right foot's off the floor. Fill out through the back ribs. We're still on the right leg. Can you stretch the knee towards the back of the mat and then lower it a little bit? Do that a few times, moving the right leg without drooping through the back ribs. Now the side's probably getting a little tired. We'll do one more thing. Next time you're in the up leg position, pause, lower just a little bit, take the right knee out to the right and also rotate so the knee points to the side. And then from there, do a little lift and lower with the leg in this position. See if you can keep that lifted state up through the back ribs. All this on the first side. And we'll take a little break before side two. Release the position, go back to child's pose. Move into your spider finger hands. And just a little bit, walk both arms over to the right. It's okay if they come off the mat. And then we'll reset over to the left. And then let's come back to center. Don't worry, we'll get to side two. Come forward and down onto your belly for a moment. And scooch the legs one at a time back and down just to give you some room. Fold the hands and rest your forehead down on the hands. And then in this position, can you fill out through the back ribs? It's a little trickier now that we're laying on the belly. Keep that, draw back through the toes, let the legs hover, and they're not going to lift high off the floor. It's barely at all. And then you'll put the legs down, relax. Take it once again, fill out through the back ribs, let them lift, and then let the legs lift as well. And down, last time. So the back ribs lift, fill them out, the legs lift. And then we're all the way down, just take a little wobble, a little side to side movement. And to get out of this, friends, we'll meet back, child's pose just for a quickie. And then reset, coming to your all fours position. From here, we'll stretch the left leg back and do the movement, forward and back, calf stretch. This one's for me. My calves are super tight today. And then we'll hold the position, broaden the collarbones, fill out through the back ribs, and don't let the back ribs droop as you lift the left leg up off the floor. Just back and forth you go a couple of times. If this is going fine and you want to add an arm, right arm goes straight forward, and then as the leg lowers, the arm lowers, etc. Keep your awareness in the back ribs though, and keep the lift up right in there. Next time we're in the up position, we'll pause. Bend the elbow to the right and the knee to the left. Hold the position, fill out through the back ribs, And then we'll set the hand down if it's up. Just choose a direction, start to circle the left leg around. And try not to let the pelvis wiggle a lot. Keep the pelvis stable as the back ribs stay full. Good, good, good. And then let's pause with the leg in the down position. Squeeze the heel in towards the tush. Fill out through the back ribs. And then point the knee back and lower it down a little bit. Do that a few times up and down. Notice for this one, if the knee is trying to go to the side, try not to let it. Try to point it straight back. We will go to the side in a second. Let's hold in the up position. Keep the back ribs lifted. And then lower the knee slightly. Take it out to the left and rotate. Yeah, so the thigh is trying to go parallel to the floor. It may or may not get there. Let's do our attitude up and down. A dog at the fire hydrant. Great, just a couple of these. And then we'll take a little break, put the knee down, back to child's pose again. This time flip the hands over and just move the fingers around a little bit. Any way is fine. You can give the hips a little wiggle too if you like. Yeah. All right, so let's reset. Hands to the floor. Come up so you can tuck the toes under, and let's meet back in downward facing dog. For this first down dog, just add in a little bit of movement. You can shift the hips, you can turn your head, take anything that suits you. And then we'll gradually widen your stance. So the feet go about as wide as your mat. Take a little bit of a bend in the knees and try to press the mat forward with your hands so the hips move back. And then before you straighten the legs, press the upper thighs wide. Keep that, root down a little more through the ball of the big toe. Just hug the ankles in slightly, and then re-lengthen your legs. Yeah, from the back of the knee to the heel, can you reach downward towards the floor? And then you likely won't be able to, but try to lift the toes off the floor. Yeah, all right. Let's bend the knees again, walk the hands back, heading to the back of the mat, and then just prop yourself up so the forearms are on the thighs in this squat position. Move the pelvis back, move the chest forward. And like we did a down dog, can you press wide through the upper thighs? Counter that action, hug in a little through the ankles, nice even footprint on both feet. On the next inhale, we'll come all the way up, stretch the legs, lengthen the arms. And then release the arms. Yeah, stay wide, just be lazy for a second and move around a little bit. Anything is fine, any kind of movement. Great. And then we'll let the movement settle down. Let's stay in your, at the back of the mat, but reset so the feet are just underneath you. I'm gonna have my back to you for a second. Let's one more time take your hand to the back ribs and just start to move the ribs back into the hand, but not so much that you end up overdoing. Yes, just a little bit. All right, and then we'll release the arm down. Notice what happens and let it happen. When the arms come up, the ribs will naturally come a little bit forward. Let that happen. And then one more time, take just your imaginary hand this time on the back ribs and let the back ribs widen. And then pull up a little taller. Widen the back ribs. Just do that a few times like a little accordion. Good. And then here we are in our Urdhva Hastasana pose. Take another breath in. As you exhale, we'll forward fold. Uttanasana, knees can bend if you like. Come up halfway and lengthen it out. Lower yourself down. We'll meet in plank pose. You can take an alternative if you wish, or just all fours, it's fine. If you need to be on the elbows, that's fine too. Once you're in your position, can you clear the shoulders and then find the lower back ribs and lift right from that spot a little bit, just a little bit. It'll make your plank stronger, a little more solid. And then to release out of this, let's put knees to the floor first, bend the elbows, come all the way down to the belly. And let's stretch the arms back alongside you. Lift the front of your shoulders away from the floor so the collarbones widen and the upper back engages. And then go ahead and let the legs lift up off the floor. Now this will be teeny tiny. Think about the back ribs widening here, and you'll ever so slightly go a little bit lower, a little closer to the floor. All right, and then we'll reset, hands right beside the chest. Let's go back to downward facing dog pose. And then again, in your down dog, if you want to add some movement, go ahead and do. We will come to the front of the mat this time. So bring the feet to the hands. Take a little bend in the knees, widen the upper thighs. Come all the way up on an inhale, lift the arms, lengthen the legs, and we'll release the arms. All right, so we'll take a few Utkatasana variations, or chair pose, also known as Virt pose. Let's stay at the front of the mat, have the hands to your hips, bend the knees, and bring the hips back, but don't go too deep into the position. Yeah, a lot of times if we just go here and we don't really think about it, we end up kind of mostly engaging through the quads and the front of the legs. Feel what happens when you shift your weight a little bit right and press the right heel a little more into the floor. I'm hoping that fires up the back of the right leg. And then we'll back off and shift a little left, press the left heel towards the floor, firing up the left leg. Let's do one more time to the right. One more time to the left. And then see if you can create that on both sides, this equal effort on each side, firing up the backs of the legs. And then sink yourself a little deeper. Let's reset hands into our prayer position. Yeah. So that pressing down through the heels wakes up the backs of the legs. Now we're going to wake up the sides of the legs. Take your hands, let's actually for this one, take the hands on the sides of the thighs and press out, legs into arms. Notice what happens in your feet. Can you root down through the ball of the big toe just to counter that? And then we'll reset, hands come back to prayer. So the backs of the heels are pressing down, the outer thighs are pressing wide, ball of the big toe is grounded. On the next inhale, just come up for a moment. And then on the exhale, take forward fold. Let the legs kind of relax a bit as you head into your forward fold. Do feel free to add in some movement here if that suits you. And then from here, let's take a halfway lift. Lower yourself down. Just go to downward facing dog. Stay for a moment. Any little add-ons you want to do are fine. And then we'll take this position, it's kind of a plank, but not really. Shift forward going into your plank pose, and then bend the knees almost to the floor, but not quite. So it's like all fours, but the knees are hovering. We need to scooch a little bit forward. Just like we did in some of the other positions, can you broaden the collarbones? Can you widen through the back ribs? And like we did in our chair pose, can you press out through the upper thighs? Hug in through the ankles enough so the soles of the feet go straight up and down. Here we are in this position. Breathe in. On the exhale, lift a little more through the back ribs and let your back round a bit more like cat pose. And on the inhale, let it go somewhat. Let's take that 2 more times. The thighs are pressing out the whole time. Yeah. Great. When you're ready to get out, child's pose, or if you wanted to do a toe stretch, toe torture asana, you could do that instead. Yeah. If you need to move the hands a little bit, take a second. All right, let's head back into down dog just as a transition. We won't really stay. From your down dog, we'll come to the front of the mat, feet to the hands, take a halfway lift. Lower yourself down, slight bend in the knees. Can you press into the heels and use that to come up? Think of coming up through the back of the legs. And release the arms. Awesome. Okie doke. So for the next sequence, we'll be doing some lunges. You might want to have blocks handy. So if you've got them, just put them at the front of the mat. We'll come again into our chair pose with a little add-on from before. So feet are separated, hands are on the hips. Bend your knees, bring the hips back. Shift your weight a little bit to the right. And then if it feels okay to lift the left heel, do that. The left heel is off the floor. Most of your weight's on the right side. If this is still feeling okay, take the arms up. Yeah, if that's not working out, keep the hands to the hips. Even though arms are up, the tiniest amount can you fill out through the back ribs. Now, if anybody still would like to add on, stretch the left leg forward so the toes are on the floor, but there's no weight on the foot. And if that makes the right hip swing wide, hug the outer right hip in towards the midline. I know this is a lot harder than it looks. Let's put the foot back, take a just kind of a half forward fold forearms on the legs, and take a little movement for a sec. Come straight back into our second side. So let's get there, up into your prayer pose, prayer chair pose, and then put more weight into the left leg, especially the heel. And if that's feeling okay, go onto the ball of the right foot, so lift the heel off. If that's still feeling good, stretch the arms out and up, but a little bit, fill out through the back. Yeah. And if you're still adding on, stretch the legs straight, let the toes touch the floor, but barely, and let the outer left hip hug in towards the midline. Yeah, just hold for a moment. We could blame this on Mary. I know it's not exactly what she said, but it's good work. All right, let's put the foot down, take that other, that kind of half forward fold, and just wiggle a little bit. It's work, isn't it? Yeah. All right, let's go back to downward facing dog again. Just get there, no fanfare. And now within the downward facing dog, bring the feet closer together, closer to the midline. And then from here, bend the right knee and try to squeeze the heel towards the right tush. It won't touch, but go that direction. And without the pelvis twisting and turning, reach the knee back and up, and then let it reset. Do a few more of those. So the knee stays bent the whole time. So we get some nice work for the back of the right leg and the right buttock, and a nice stretch on the left leg, extra bonus. Let's pause here with the knee pointing up, inhale. On the exhale, come forward, step the foot through in between the hands, and or you could grab blocks if you like for this position. Yeah, so here we are in a lunge variation. Let's bend the back knee slightly. On the back leg, press the foot towards the back of the mat so the back of the left leg turns on. And then on the right leg, press the heel down and try to press the right heel forward so the back of the right leg turns on. Yeah. We're gonna stay here, keeping the back knee bent. Let's take hands up to prayer, coming into this kind of high lunge, but not really. And then hinge forward a little bit and come back up. So take this a few more times. The front heel is digging down and pressing forward the whole while. It's a lot of work on the back of the right leg. Next time you're in the up position, please stay. Lift the low belly, fill out through the back ribs. Slowly let the back leg go straighter and maybe lift the arms up. All right, take another breath in. Exhale, we're down, hands to the floor or to your blocks. Slowly let the effort go on the legs and let the front leg go straighter. And from here, to get a little different kind of a stretch, let's walk the arms to the right and possibly go outside of the right foot if that works for you. Yeah. All right, so let's undo, coming back to center. Rebend the front knee, move the blocks if you're on them, and head back into downward dog. Once you're there, bring your feet a little closer together, and then the right knee bends and try to squeeze the heel into the left tush. Did I say right? I meant left, the second leg. And then we go up and down without letting the pelvis turn to the side. Yeah. So the right leg now gets a big juicy stretch and the left leg gets to work. Let's pause the next time the knee is pointing up. Inhale. On the exhale, step forward, foot comes through. Take your blocks if you need them. And then let's bend the back knee a little bit and press the back foot, right foot towards the back of the mat so the back of the right leg turns on. And then the left one, press down and try to push the left one forward. Isometric muscle contraction. That's it. And then keep the back knee bent. Let's come up with the hands in prayer. And you don't have to come all the way up. This is still working on the front leg. Hinge a little forward and then come a little up. Do that a few more times. We're keeping this load and tension on the front leg. Yeah, let's pause in the up position. Lift through the belly, broaden through the back ribs. Slowly stretch out the back leg if that feels okay. If you need to keep it bent, that's fine. And then if it feels all right to add on, you can stretch up through the arms. All right, keep the back ribs nice and full, nice and wide. Let's take one more inhale. And then on the exhale, down we come. Let the effort go on the legs. Stretch the front leg, your version of straight. And then from here, if it feels all right to walk the arms left, you can. You can go all the way over or just a little bit. Great. Okay, let's come back to center. Bend the front knee, move your blocks. Let's go plank to downward dog. And then from here, we'll meet at the front of the mat again. So feet come forward, root down through the legs. Inhale, we're up, arms to the sky. And release the arm. Take a little hula hoop circle to celebrate. I'm sweating bullets here. Anybody else? Yeah, okay, good. It's not just me. So we'll take a similar pattern, but get into it a different way. Let's stay at the front of the mat, feet a little bit apart. Hands are first on the hips. Bend the knees, bring the hips back again, coming into your Utkatasana. Press the right heel into the floor, lift the left heel. Now, if that's enough, stay put. If you're adding in the arms, do. And if you've done that, widen a bit through the back ribs. If you're still adding on, stretch the leg forward so there's no weight on the left toes. Let the outer right hip hug in towards the midline. This transition will be different than the last one. When you're ready, slowly straighten the right leg, lift the left knee off the floor. And then we'll glide into our lunge, stepping the left leg back, bring the chest forward and the arms forward. If arms forward is too much, stretch the arms back. Yeah, we'll hold the position for a little bit. Press the front heel down, try to press it forward. Press the back toes down, try to press them back. Do all of this while still breathing. And then down come the arms. Let the legs relax. Back and forth, you go on the front leg a couple of times. Yep, and then let's pause with the front knee bent, but not so effortful as before. We'll turn to the right, opening up for a twist. And then draw the right hip towards the back of the mat as the right arm stretches forward, coming into a diagonal line. Yeah. To get out of this, look at the floor, release. Let's go again, plank to downward dog. And then from your down dog, just hang out for a second, add in any kind of movement if you need, or if you like. Great, we've only got one more side and then we'll change our pattern a little bit. So let's head to the front of the mat again. Root down through the legs, all the way up we come. And then release the arms down. Yeah, so start with hands to the hips, feet a little apart. Bend the knees, bring the hips back into your chair pose and press a little more on the left heel. If that's going fine and you want to add on, lift the right heel so that you're on the ball of the right foot. If you're still going, you can add the arms, widen through the back ribs. And then if you're still going, stretch the right leg out so there's no weight on it, just barely the toe taps the floor. Let the outer left hip hug in. Sit. And then to get out of this, press into the left heel, straighten the leg, lift the right knee. And then we'll glide back into our diagonal lunge. Chest is forward. Arms can be forward or back, or you can put the hands down if you need to. Yeah. All right. When you're ready, everybody put the hands down. Take a little break, take it back and forth a couple of times. And then let's stay with the front knee bent, but not with as much effort as we did before. We'll turn open, taking your twist. Left arm up to the sky. And then you'll pull the left hip to the back of the mat, take the left arm overhead, string the diagonal line twist. Yeah. All right, yogis, to get out of this, hands come down. We'll go plank to the belly. Plank to the belly. Just meet me there. Yeah, take a second once you're down. That was a lot. And now from here, you'll roll over on the one side. Doesn't matter which side, just whatever is easiest for you to see the screen. I'm going to refer to top and bottom rather than right and left. And then whatever leg is on the bottom, bend the knee a little bit. And let's also bend the bottom arm, the elbow, so you can prop the head in this position. The top leg's just hovering a little bit. And then from this position, can you really activate the top leg and try to pretend you're standing on the foot? Reach the foot towards the foot end of your mat. Yeah. Now in this position, in a second, we will lift the leg. Don't do it yet. And when that happens, whatever hip is on top, it'll want to creep up towards your head, but let's not do that. So keep the top hip and leg reaching away from you as you start to lift the leg any amount that you can without the pelvis moving. So for most of us, it's not a whole lot. Yeah. And then lower a little bit and go again. Yeah. Lower a little bit. Remember the back rib idea? Can you fill out through the back ribs? And without losing that, take the heel a little back and then go up again. Yeah, great. Let's hold in the up position and then add in a rotation. So the internal rotation, the toes and the knee point down, and then external, they point up. Do a few of those back and forth. And then come to neutral rotation. One more time, reach the leg out and lift any amount higher. Good. Bend the knee, relax. Give the leg a little rub if you need it. And then you can either roll over to side two. I'm going to turn around just so I don't have my back to you. And we've got our second side. So the bottom knee is bent. Top leg is straight. And then the bottom arm, you can bend the elbow so the head is propped up. Cleopatra style. And then let's activate the top leg and stamp the heel towards the wall on your side. Yeah? From there, without letting the top hip creep up, keep it moving away from you. Lift the leg any amount. And then lower a little. Go again, up. Lower a little. And then remember the back ribs. Can you take them back? And without that changing, can you reach the heel back a little bit towards your back body? And then go again, lift up any amount and stay. Yeah. Great. Now from here, let's do our rotation, internal, external. I'm having a harder time on this side. And then neutral rotation, keep the back ribs nice and full. Keep the foot stamping down away from your head and lift up any amount more. That's funny, it doesn't look like much, but it's a fair amount of work. And then release the knee. If you need to give the hip a little rub, you can. All right. So when we take the leg away from the midline in any orientation, it's called abduction, abduction. And we're going to work on that in a few other different ways. Yeah. So from here, let's just roll to the belly and then back to downward facing dog. From your down dog, let's meet in a standing forward fold. Little bend in the knees, widen the ab. Go ahead and abduct the thighs here. It feels different when the feet are fixed. And on the next inhale, come all the way up to stand. Lengthen your body. Release the arms down. So exciting, yogis. So for the next bit, if you have a block, I'll recommend the block. If you don't have a block, I'll show you another way to do it. And you might want to stand with your hand next to a wall or a piece of furniture. I want this to be more about the outer hip work than the balance. So if you know you struggle with the balance, go get something to hang on to. Those of you who don't have a block, I'm going to mirror you. You'll stand with the left leg as the base, and the right leg, the knee is just bent a little bit so the foot can just hover a little bit. Those of you with the block, you'll stand your right leg on the block, and the left leg will be beside the block. Yeah, so it's like this or like this. So once you're in your position here, pay attention to the standing leg and just for a second, let the hip kind of sag out to the side. And then you'll press into the standing foot and let the outer hip draw in. Yeah? It's the same as when we were lifting the leg, but now the foot is fixed, so we're actually moving the upper part of the leg. Do that again. Just let the hip sag out to the side. Press into the standing foot and let the hip hug in. Do that a few times. Yeah? Now we could possibly heat and lift the other hip up to do the action, but see if you can do it all from the standing leg. So the sole of the foot presses down as the outer hip hugs in. Yeah. And then the next time you're in that effort, keep the effort, and let's take hands to prayer. Press the heel of the hands into each other. Can you widen through the back ribs? Yeah. You'll lose the ribs a little bit when the arms reach up. Let it happen. And then from there, one more time, can you widen through the back ribs? Keep the standing foot pressing down and the outer hip drawing in. Ah, great. Release that. That's a lot of work, isn't it? Yeah, so I didn't mention what the lifted leg is doing, and I don't care. It doesn't matter. You can have the foot point, flex, doesn't matter. You just want the standing, the lifted leg, to be somewhat relaxed, so all the work can be on this standing leg. Let's set up for your second side. So either stand on your block or not, and then just get your bearings. On the standing leg at first, let the hip kind of sag, let it sink out to the side. And then you'll press the sole of the foot down as the outer hip hugs in. Do that a few times. Good, good. The muscles here on the side of the hip, there's a couple of them, gluteus medius and gluteus minimus. And then also you get into a little bit of the TFL. Yeah. So let's pause next time you're pressing, keeping that. That's it. Take the hands to prayer. Press the hands in towards the midline and very gradually can you widen through the back ribs. You'll lose that a little as the arms come up. Let it happen. And then one more time. Can you widen through the back ribs? Keep the outer hip hugging in on the standing leg. And maintain your breath. Good. Okay, down we come. Relax, release. Give the hip a little rub if you need. Just move around a little bit. Oh, okay. So the takeaway from that is when the standing foot presses down, the outer hip hugs in. Fairly straightforward when we're up and down. It's a little bit different when the legs are in a different position. So let's try it in our Warrior Two side angle triangle poses. You can stand on your mat just on the long way and we'll separate the feet. Let's see, which leg were we just working? This one. So let's go this direction. Take your right leg, let the leg turn in, and then turn the left leg out. And just come into Warrior Two. Keep the hands to the hips, just Warrior Two legs. And we'll pay attention mostly to the back leg for these. So press the back heel down and also try to press it towards the back edge of the mat. Do that enough that you feel the outer hip working, but not so much that it's a really tense, grippy sort of situation, yeah? So relax for a second, let's go again. Press the foot down and try to press it back enough that you feel a little activity there on the outer hip. Let's keep that. Square up the shoulders, the chest towards the long end of the mat and take your arms wide. You can turn your face to look wherever it feels the most comfortable. All right, we're going to stand in position, but relax the effort. Bring the hands to the hips, to the top of the pelvis, and just take a little shift, a little yoga disco, one hip up, the other hip down. Do that a few times. And then we'll pause next time you're in the tilted state and find it again. The back heel presses down and back, enough so the outer hip turns on. And then we'll take the forward arm, just reach straight ahead. Any arm variation is fine. I'm gonna take forearm to thigh. You could join me or take a different one. And then same thing with the top arm. You could reach forward, you could reach straight up to the ceiling. Let's keep the back leg doing its thing. And at the same time, just a tiny amount, can you fill out through the back ribs? Don't do that so much that the pelvis tucks under, just a little bit. Let's come up on an inhale. Oh, all right. Let's go second side. So turn the left leg in, turn the right leg out. Go ahead and just come into warrior two leg position, and we'll fool with the effort in a second. Yeah, so once you're in position there, and the back leg, go slowly, gradually, so you find the right amount without overdoing. Heel presses down and back, enough so the outer hip wakes up. And then from here, can you widen through the back ribs, take the arms wide, and you can turn your face wherever it wants to be. Yeah. And then we'll stay in the shape, but relax the effort. Hands come to the top of the pelvis. And let's take the same tilt as we did before. Just tilt one up and down. And then we'll stay in the tilted position. Find the effort again. Back heel presses down and back, enough to wake up the outer hip, but not overdoing. Stretch the forward arm straight ahead. Can you widen through the back ribs? And then take your arm variation here. Anything is fine for our side angle. Back leg is active. Back ribs are widening. And it's work, but I'm hoping when you take the work here into the back leg, some of the work elsewhere can release, maybe the neck or the face. Yeah, let's come up on an inhale all the way to center. Parallel your feet, bring yourself back together for a second. Just take a moment. Any kind of movement that you want to add in is fine. And then next we'll take a wide forward fold. If you need blocks for that, go get them, or any kind of furniture is fine. Take your feet wide apart and make sure the toes are pointing forward and the feet are on the same line. Slight bend in the knees and hinge at the hip crease to come down. Yeah, now from this position, we're a little bit more symmetrical than we just were. Can you still find that abduction pressing out through the thighs? Now, if you do that a lot, sometimes it doesn't feel great on the ankles. Can you draw the ankles in towards the midline enough that the weight's even on your feet? Like you've got a good footprint in the sand. But if you overdo that, you'll end up kind of collapsing the other direction. So I'm going to say it again. Upper thighs widen, putting the weight more to the outer foot. Hug in a little through the inner foot, just enough so that it feels more even. Slowly let the legs start to go straighter. And now from here, any other variation is fine. Some of you I know like this one where you stretch the arms forward. Some of you like the one instead where you walk the arms back. Anything you want to do is fine, but let's keep the integrity in the legs. Yeah? Great. So we've got one more standing pose to do. To get out of this, let's reset so hands are under the shoulders if they're not already. Slight bend in the knees. Let's actually heel toe in slightly so your stance is not quite so wide. And then widen again through the upper thighs, tone through the belly. Hands come to the hips, hinge your way up to center. Great job, and then bring your feet just right back underneath you. Move around a little bit. So for our last standing sequence, do have your hands on something. Blocks could be great, but if you don't have blocks, you might have a chair or just some kind of furniture that you can put your hands on so that you're approximately here, or if you need to go higher than that, you can be here, etc. I'm going to talk you through it as we go. So go ahead and join me with the hands under the shoulders on a little bit of height, the feet under the hips, but then bring the feet in a little bit closer. So we did this movement in some of our other poses. From here, can you bend the right knee, try to kick the heel towards the right tush, broaden the collarbones, fill out through the back ribs, and then just point the knee back and let it come down a little bit. Do that a few times and try not to let the pelvis turn open to the right as you're doing the movement. Yeah. Next time the leg is in the up position, pause. Slowly start to reach the right leg straight, pressing back through the heel. And now pay attention to the left leg, the bottom leg. Bend the knees slightly. Let the outer left hip grab back as the pelvis and torso turn open to the right. It's kind of like half moon in the lower body. And then reset back to where you just were. Do that a few times. The outer left hip wraps back as you turn open. Yes. This is grand finale work in the tush here. Next time you're in the turned open up position, stay there. Lift the top leg any amount higher, recreating that abduction. And then if anybody would like to lift the right hand, either put the hand to the hip or turn the chest up towards the ceiling. Go ahead and add that in, but feel free not to. So both legs are working. On the left leg, the outer hip's wrapping back. On the lifted leg, you're really lifting. When you're done, let's release the hands down, step the foot down, step your feet wide, and just take a little kind of lazy side to side, maybe with a little bend in the knees. Only one more side, friends. Let's bring the feet right underneath your hips again. Bend the left knee, trying to kick the tush. And before we go anywhere, can you lengthen the torso and just the tiniest amount lift up through the back ribs. Point the knee back and then down. So the knee is still bent. Just do a few of these up and down. My legs are getting tired. This is about enough. So we're almost there. Next time the knee points back, stay. Slowly re-lengthen the leg, pressing back through the heel. Now in the right leg, bend the knee a little bit. Let the outer hip pull back towards the back of the mat as the pelvis and the torso turn open to the left. And then unwind, come back to where you started. Do a few more of those, same exact thing. Yes, friends, almost there. Next time you're in the turn to open position, stay. Keep the outer right hip drawing back. Lift the left leg any amount higher. And then maybe you lift the left arm. You could put the hand to the hip, arm to the ceiling. Keep both legs doing their thing. So the right knee is pointing forward. Outer hip is drawing back. Left leg is lifting. Abduction. When you're done, let's look at the floor. Put the arms down. Step the foot down. Oh, yeah. Separate your feet about as wide as the mat. Either keep the hands to your prop or bring the forearms to thighs. That might feel better. And just take a little easy sway. You can move the hands if you like. Yeah, you guys. We've got to stretch out the hips a little after this, I think. Let's root down through the legs. Inhale, up and come to stand. Release the arms. Yay. All right, so we'll come down to have a seat, and if you would like to sit on something, you can. We'll come into Sukhasana, cross-legged, and I'll be specific about it. See, let's have the right shin in front. I'm going to mirror you, and try to have the cross be right in the middle of the shins. There's another pose where we're crossed more at the ankles and the knees kind of slope downward, but that's not the one we're doing for the moment. So try to cross right here, or just as close to that as you can. Press the hands down for a second, lift the pelvis, scooch the pelvis back, and then come down. And my aim in that is to tilt the pelvis a little forward. We'll slide the thumbs up into the hip creases. Press the thumbs down, lift the torso, and press the heels out away from each other. If you want to add on, start to hinge forward, but try not to round the back. Yeah. And then the arms can come forward here. Let's start on your fingertips. Keep the heels reaching outward. Keep the collarbones broad. Walk out any amount further. And then we'll stay here for a little bit. Yeah? If you're finding that you'd like to come down, if that feels fine on your back, go ahead and do. Anybody could put a prop, a block either under the forehead, or you could prop the arms. So take what you need here. It might also feel good to take an easy side to side kind of movement. And you're ready to get out. Relax the feet, walk the hands back in, and then let's take the legs out in front, and before we swap sides, just give them a little jiggle. Yeah, and then we'll reset with the left shin in front, finding your Sukhasana. The translation is easy pose, but I know it's not easy for everybody. So once you're in position, lift the pelvis, scooch back and come down. Try to land a little more forward tilted. Thumbs slide into the hip crease, press down to lift up. Press out through your heels. And don't round the back yet. Start to pull, hinge forward. Let the arms come ahead if that feels all right. Stay on the fingertips for a moment as you crawl the arms forward, the heart forward. Keep reaching out through the heels. So for the moment, it's a pretty active pose. You can stay right here, or if it feels okay to let yourself round and fold over, do. If that's feeling not so great on your back, I would advise to stay with that diagonal line instead. Yeah. Any props are fine on the arms, the forehead, or whatever. You want to add in a little side to side, that could be nice. And when you're ready to get out, very gently bring yourself back up. Stretch the legs out in front. Give them any kind of movement, wiggle, jiggle, circle the feet. Yeah. All right, friends, let's come down onto your back, heading mostly into Shavasana. But after the forward fold that we just did, it might feel nice to swish the legs a little bit just to open up through the front of the hips. So maybe a windshield wiper, maybe a bridge, anything like that could feel good. Let's take what you want. Yeah. And then from here, friends, we'll meet in Shavasana, final resting pose. Set up any way that you like with any props that you like. And truly let the effort be done. Ask your body to relax. And ask your body to breathe. To receive your breath. Did a lot of work today. Outer hips, back of the legs. Send your awareness there and thank that part of your body for supporting you today. And ask that part of you to relax. Without any muscular effort, ask the back ribs to widen, soften, connect to gravity. Relax your face, eyes, your mouth. Let go of any expression that might be on your face. You take the next breath. Imagine breathing all the way into your fingers and into your toes. Add in any kind of movement here, whatever feels right to you. You're ready, let the knees bend and roll over one side. Press down into the floor and take your time to come up to sit. We'll meet with the hands at heart center. Thank your body for everything that it's able to do. And thank yourself for showing up. Namaste.